Hello and welcome to my Carolina homestead. If you're new, my name is Michelle and today I'm here with a video showing you how I make homemade white bread. We use this for toast or sandwiches, whichever you prefer. It's a very simple recipe. It has 6 ingredients. We make our bread at home because we know what's in the bread. We control the ingredients, and it just doesn't have a lot of those extra chemicals in there that store-bought bread has. So I'm going to start off today with 1 cup of warm water. So let me get that going. So 1 cup of warm water, and I want the temperature to be between 100 and 110. So this is at 106.8. So this is good. The reason I don't want it to go above 110 degrees is because it will kill our yeast. So I'm just going to pour this into this bowl here, and to that I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of sugar. Some people like their bread sweet. I don't. I just add the sugar so that, first of all, it's the food for our yeast. So this is what's going to feed the yeast. And second of all, this is going to assist in browning our bread. I'm going to dissolve that sugar in the warm water. And now I'm going to add 2 1/4 teaspoons of instant yeast. You can use active yeast if you would like, but it's still the same. It's 2 1/4 teaspoons of whichever yeast you prefer. I had the active yeast. And I am going to bloom my yeast. With active yeast, you normally don't bloom it. You just incorporate it into your recipe and go from there. But I am going to bloom this, or proof it, meaning I'm going to let this sit for about 5 minutes. The reason I'm doing that is because my yeast is a little bit old, and I don't want to go through the process of making a whole loaf of bread to find out that my yeast is dead. So I'm going to wait and let this sort of activate, and I'll show you what that looks like when that's ready. All right, this is what the yeast, water, and sugar mixture looks like once the yeast has bloomed. You'll get this creamy, frothy mixture that sits on top, and that's what happens when the sugar and water activate that yeast. So this is a very live yeast, so I'm good to go now. I'm finished making my bread. Now that my yeast has bloomed, next I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of oil. I'm using olive oil. You can use any oil that you choose. And I'm going to add 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt. I'm going to combine this in together. And now to that, I'm going to add 3 cups of bread flour. So what I do with my bread flour, just to make sure that it's not all compact in there so that I don't have too much flour in the recipe, is I just give it a good stir, and this sort of aerates the flour out, makes it nice and light and fluffy. So I'm just going to measure out 3 cups of flour that's been aerated and leveled. Take a spatula and start to combine the flour mixture until this starts to come together to form a shaggy dough. You can do this in a stand mixer if you choose. I just didn't feel like getting mine out today, so I'm going to give this a shot and do this by hand. have the house to myself. I don't have my grandchildren here yet. They'll be here in a little bit. So I'm just going to take my time and make a nice loaf of homemade bread. Alright, this is what a shaggy dough looks like. See, it's just kind of broken apart. It's not really cohesive and smooth, but that's what we're going to look for once we start to knead this. But I'm just trying to incorporate that last little bit of the flour that's at the bottom of the bowl into this dough ball before I pull it out and start kneading it by hand. Okay, so now I'm just going to add a little bit of flour to my work area. And add some to my hands. And now I'm just going to knead this by hand for about 7 minutes. I'm just bringing it back into itself and then pushing it away from me. So I'm rolling it towards me, into itself, and then pushing it away. So I'm just going to continue to do this for about 7 minutes or until this dough ball is completely smooth. And when I'm finished with that, I'll be back to show you what that looks like. Okay, my dough should be just about ready. It's feeling nice and elastic. It's starting to smooth out on the surface. See what I mean? It's just coming together in a nice little round ball like that. So now all I'm going to do is add just a little bit of olive oil to the bottom of this glass bowl. I'm going to put my dough ball in there, sort of flip it around. Get some of this oil on it. Okay, so now I've got my dough ball in this clean glass bowl that's been oiled, and I've oiled the dough ball on both sides. So now I'm just going to cover this with a damp towel. And you can set this aside somewhere warm in your home for an hour to an hour and a half for this dough to rise in, to allow this dough to double in size. I'm going to put mine in the oven on the proof setting, and that's going to create a lightly warm environment so this will rise pretty quickly. And when I'm finished with that, I'll be back to show you what to do next. Okay, I'm back, and my dough looks like it has doubled in size. So I have my baking dish ready, and all I have done is taken a little bit of butter and just heavily buttered the entire dish. And so now I'm just going to punch down this dough and degas it. Take it out of the bowl, and I'm just going to knead it for another minute or so. Okay. And now I'm going to roll it into a loaf shape. I'll try to stretch it out just a little bit so that it'll fit inside my bread pan. Alright, I'm just going to drop it in the bread pan just like that. I'm going to cover it back up with this damp cloth and put it back in the oven on the proof setting for about 30 minutes until this has risen about 1/2 inch to 1 inch over the side of the pan. And I'll bring you back to show you what that looks like. Alright, now the loaf has rested for about 45 minutes, and as you can see, it's doubled in size and has risen over the top at least by 1 inch. Now it's time for me to put this in the oven. This bread is now finished. Look how pretty that is. I had this in the oven at about 325 degrees for about 45 minutes. If you're using a dark loaf pan, you can set your oven to 350 degrees and bake your bread for 30 minutes. You just want to make sure that the internal temperature of your bread is 190 degrees. Because I did use a glass loaf pan, I use a glass loaf pan because it has more of an even heat distribution. But when you do use a glass loaf pan, it does take longer for your bread to bake. So that is why I reduced the temperature by about 25 degrees. Now I've just taken the bread and put it on a wire rack, and I'm going to leave this out to cool completely before I attempt to slice it. If you try to slice your bread when it's warm, it will destroy it. It will just completely fall apart. Before this bread completely cools, I'm just going to rub the top of it with some butter. And this is just going to add a nice buttery flavor to that crust and also help to lock in some moisture to the bread. There's our bread. It's finished. Looks absolutely delicious. Just going to let it cool for a little while, and then I'll come back and slice it and show you what that looks like. Here it is sliced. You can see how soft that is. It is absolutely delicious. And again, it only has 6 ingredients. Because this bread does not contain preservatives, it is not going to last very long out on the counter. So I will slice this up and put it in the freezer and just take out the pieces as I need them. Thank you so much for stopping by my Carolina homestead today and spending a little time with me. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and click that notification bell for more videos coming soon. See you next time, and take care.